This is Mike Migelski with infoVia, and we are in part 3 of our infoSecur demo, where we share how to protect your data while sharing it widely with your users. This part of the demo is going to tell how we enforce the policies that were created. So in part 2, you saw how we use meta policies maintained through the infoSecur UI to map users to the data that they can see at the row and column level. Now we're going to show how you can use that metadata to allow for easy access to for your users from anywhere without adding new technology. And you can put the management of those the management of the policies and the execution thereof in the hands of the business users themselves. We do this with an easy-to-use user interface that not only manages the policies, but also generates these views that we showed in the previous demo. Those secure views can be deployed to any of your source databases or your data warehouse so that all of them follow the same set of policies, the same rules, and produce filtered results. Whether you're using a BI tool or a machine learning model or an application, or even just running ad hoc SQL, they all play by the same rules because these policies are implemented at the database layer. The results are that you see filtering and masking of data simultaneously, or what we call cell-level data security, which we showed you in part 2. Remember, we had 4 roles or 4 personas in the demo. And so we're going to show how you build the view that allows these 4 personas to see only the data that's appropriate for them, or maybe none at all, as in the case of Ivan the imposter. Okay, so a little bit of background, a little bit of technical jargon here as we get into the management of these views. Okay, so the policies are managed through the user interface, but the views that enforce are actually created out in the database. Now, that might be a little bit intimidating to some business users that I have to manage database objects. Well, that's why we do it for you in infoSecur. So the engine that runs the policies that enforces them for the end users are created through the user interface of infoSecur. So with that, let's dive in and see that in process. Let me go to our infoSecur user interface here. You've seen this before in demos, in the demo 2. Remember, we have users, the same users that we just saw, Marcus, Herb, and Rebecca. They are mapped to roles, which allow them to see certain subsets of data. For example, Herb, the handler here, has the handler role, which allows him to see states in the West and Midwest with clear name access. So now we're going to create a secure view that allows us to see that. Now you might remember here, let me show you that we have data in our Snowflake data warehouse that allows us to see that allows us to see the raw data that's behind this. Okay, so this is the raw data, and we're going to create a filtered and masked view. We're going to filter on this state, and we're going to mask the first name to be, or maybe the last name here, to be more, to be hidden. Okay, so maybe we're of the last name to be hidden. All right, so how, or to be seen, sorry, everything else to be hidden. So how do we do that inside infoSecur? Well, first we're going to attach to Snowflake. We're going to select the raw data out of the Snowflake database and use that as the source of the data. So I think we called it S customer. So this is the view that we just ran, or the table that we just ran that query against, that has the raw data on it. And so the source store in infoSecur is the table with the raw data that we want to have secured. Okay. Then there's the secure view. This is the new object that we're going to generate or create within the database to query against. So for those who might not be familiar with database objects, it's as simple as selecting a schema out of your database that, or an area that you want to create this new view in. Okay, so we're going to call it vSecure Customer. I'm going to get rid of some of this extra naming here, and we're just going to call it something that's very, very easy for the customer to remember. Okay, so it's going to be in the Demo Data Vault database in the BizVault schema called the vSecure Customer. Now, once we've created all that metadata, or that amount of metadata about the secure view, then we're going to open this view and we're going to look at the columns that it has within it. Okay, so we created the view, and now we're going to edit the columns within that. Now notice how it's got a list of all the columns that view, or that source object had within it. Okay, long list of columns. What we're really interested in here is this last name and the state, because the last name, instead of just displaying the last name, we're going to change that so that instead of displaying it, it masks it based on the first in characters of that last name. So we said we wanted to only see the first one character, so we're going to change that to a 1. Now what this is going to do is it's going to apply a policy based on the masking category within infoSecur to the last name column, and it's going to return just the first character of that, and then it's going to append ... on the end, just as an indicator that there's more there that you can't see. All right, so with that, we're going to submit that. View, that secure view, and we're going to generate it on Snowflake. Okay, so now remember the name of this was vSecure Customer. So now I'm going to go back to Snowflake. That's all we did. That's all we have to do to execute this. I'm going to go back to Snowflake. I'm going to put our new view name in this query, and we're going to see the first name and last name based on the policies of the user who's currently logged in. Okay, that current user is, I think, Rebecca the recruit. We're going to go to Marcus the manager, who's allowed to see that data. So we're going to impersonate Marcus the manager. We're going to look at his policies. Hey, again, all right, and you can see that he has a policy that allows him to see the first in characters, a masking policy. So if he runs this query against this view that we just created, he should see all of the rows, but only the first of the last name. You see how it did that? So now let's add a filtering rule, because maybe Marcus is only responsible for the Western regions. You'll notice we have a couple states of Texas in here, and I thought we had one of Colorado as well. There you go. So there's 2 Texas and 1 Colorado. Let's create a policy for Marcus that allows him to see. Let's fix the view so that in order for Marcus to see the data, it has to match the states that he is associated with. So we're going to add a new rule to this view. It's going to be a filter type rule. We're not masking, and we're not just blindly displaying or clearly displaying. We're filtering in this case, and we're going to filter based on the state attribute. All right, the column name is CA state, and that's it. We just added that rule. We're going to regenerate that view, which pushes it out to the database with 1 click. And now we're going to go back to our database login here, and we're going to run that same query again. Remember, we regenerated the view. Instead of seeing 5 rows in the results, when we run this query again for Marcus, we will be enforcing that Marcus, since he can only see the Western states, is only seeing the Texas and Colorado roles. And there you go. Now, Marcus does in fact see only the mask name, which is the rule that we put in place. But that shows us that with just a few clicks, even a business user can create one of these views that can be powerful and effective for building the set of data out in the data environment that can be reused by all people downstream. So we showed that the policies enforce for the users can be enforced against the data so that in the end, only the data that's allowed to be seen, but for any given user, can be seen by those queries. Okay, so that is the end of demo number 3. If you have any questions, please contact us at infoVia, info-via.com or info-secur.com for the infoSecur product. Thank you.